The fluorescent lights of County General Hospital buzzed overhead as Imani Brooks sat on the hard plastic chair, her entire body trembling. Her daughter, 5-year-old Destiny, lay unconscious on a gurney beside her, an oxygen mask covering her small face. The asthma attack had come without warning, sudden and terrifying, turning Destiny's lips blue as she gasped for air that wouldn't come. Imani had run 6 blocks carrying her daughter in her arms, her own lungs burning, her vision blurred with tears. She had no car, no phone, no money for a taxi. Just her legs and the desperate love of a mother who would die before letting her child slip away. They had stabilized Destiny 20 minutes ago, but the nightmare was far from over. "Ms. Brooks," the hospital administrator said, her voice clipped and professional as she approached with a clipboard. The woman wore a crisp white blouse and had her hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. "We need to discuss payment arrangements." Imani looked up, her dark brown eyes rimmed with red. She wore the same green cleaning uniform she'd had on for the past 12 hours, working her shift at the office building downtown. The smell of industrial cleaner still clung to her clothes. "I don't have insurance right now. I lost my other job last month and—" "The bill is currently at $4,300, the administrator interrupted. "That's just for the emergency treatment. If we admit her overnight for observation, which the doctor recommends, it will be significantly more. $4,000 might as well have been $4 million. Imani had $17 in her pocket. That was supposed to buy groceries for the week. "I can pay in installments," Imani said, her voice cracking. "I work 2 jobs. I can give you something every week." The administrator's expression didn't change. "Ms. Brooks, given the severity of your daughter's condition and your current financial situation, I'm required to notify Child Protective Services. A child with severe asthma needs consistent medical care, proper housing, medication." "No." The word came out sharp, almost a shout. Several nurses looked over. Imani lowered her voice, but her hands clenched into fists. "You cannot take my daughter. I take care of her. I love her. I work hard every single day to—" "I understand this is difficult, but we have protocols." The administrator began writing something on her clipboard. Imani stood up, positioning herself between the administrator and Destiny's gurney. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst through her chest. This could not be happening. She had fled from an abusive relationship, left everything behind, worked herself to exhaustion trying to build a safe life for Destiny. And now they wanted to take her baby because she was poor? "Please," Imani whispered, her pride crumbling. "Please don't do this. She's all I have. I'll figure out the money. I'll work more hours. I'll do anything." The administrator opened her mouth to respond, but a deep male voice cut through the tension. "Excuse me, what's the total amount owed?" Both women turned. A man stood a few feet away, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing an expensive navy blue suit that probably cost more than Imani made in 3 months. He had light brown skin, neatly trimmed hair with touches of gray at the temples, and the kind of confident posture that came from a lifetime of having doors opened for him. The administrator blinked, clearly taken aback by the interruption. "Sir, this is a private matter." "The total," the man repeated, his tone polite but firm. He looked directly at the administrator with steady gray eyes. "How much does she owe right now?" $4,300 for emergency services," the administrator stammered. "But if the child is admitted—" The man pulled out a black leather wallet and extracted a credit card. "Add another $10,000 to cover the overnight stay, medications, follow-up appointments, and whatever else this child needs. I'll handle it." Imani's mouth fell open. She stared at this stranger, trying to make sense of what was happening. "I can't. I don't even know you. Why would you?" He turned to her, and something in his expression made her pause. It wasn't pity. It wasn't superiority. It was something deeper, something that looked almost like understanding. "Because I know what it's like to feel helpless," he said quietly. "And because no mother should have to choose between her child's health and keeping her family together." The administrator looked between them, clearly confused by this development but not about to turn down payment. "Sir, if you're serious, I'll need to process this at the billing desk." "I'm completely serious." He handed her the card. "I'll follow you." As the administrator hurried away, clutching the credit card like a winning lottery ticket, the man turned back to Imani. She stood frozen, her mind unable to process this sudden turn of events. "I don't understand," she managed to say. "You don't know us. You don't owe us anything." "I don't need to know you to help," he replied simply. "My name is Harrison Mitchell." He extended his hand. Imani looked at it for a long moment before slowly reaching out to shake it. His grip was warm and firm. "Imani Brooks," she said. "And that's my daughter, Destiny?" Harrison glanced at the little girl on the gurney, still unconscious but breathing steadily through the oxygen mask. Something flickered across his face, an emotion Imani couldn't quite identify. "Beautiful name," he said softly. "How old is she?" "5. She just turned 5 last month." Imani's voice broke on the last word and she quickly wiped her eyes. She would not cry in front of this stranger, no matter how kind he seemed. "Listen," Harrison said, his voice gentle. "I know this is overwhelming. But right now, the most important thing is making sure Destiny gets the care she needs. Everything else we can figure out later." "We." The word hung in the air between them. There was no we. There was just Imani and Destiny, the way it had been for 2 years since she'd finally gathered the courage to leave Jerome, Destiny's father, after one beating too many. But before she could protest, Harrison walked over to Destiny's gurney. He looked down at the little girl with such tenderness that it made Imani's chest ache. "She's going to be okay," he said, and somehow Imani believed him. "Have you ever wondered what you would do if a stranger offered to change your entire life in a single moment? Would you trust them? Would you take the help? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think Imani should do next. And if you're enjoying this story, please subscribe so you don't miss what happens when Harrison makes an even bigger offer that will shock you." The next hour passed in a blur. Harrison returned from the billing office, everything settled. The administrator's attitude had completely changed, suddenly all smiles and concern. They admitted Destiny to a private room upstairs, a luxury Imani had never experienced in any of her previous hospital visits. The pediatrician, Dr. Reynolds, a woman with kind eyes and graying hair, examined Destiny thoroughly. She prescribed new medications, a better inhaler, and recommended environmental changes to reduce asthma triggers. "She'll need to avoid dust, mold, and cigarette smoke," Dr. Reynolds explained, making notes on her tablet. "Ideally, she should have an air purifier in her bedroom. And given the severity of this attack, I'd like to see her back in 2 weeks for a follow-up." Imani nodded mechanically, not mentioning that their current apartment, a tiny studio in a building that should have been condemned years ago, was full of mold and had neighbors who smoked constantly in the hallways. An air purifier was not even close to being in the budget. Harrison, who had stayed throughout the examination despite Imani's repeated insistence that he could leave, caught the worried look on her face. "I'll take care of the air purifier," he said. "And the follow-up appointment." "You've done too much already," Imani protested weakly. "I can't keep accepting." "You can and you will." His tone was kind but left no room for argument. "At least until you're back on your feet." Dr. Reynolds looked between them with an approving smile, clearly assuming Harrison was Imani's husband or boyfriend. Imani didn't correct her. It was easier than explaining the truth, which she barely understood herself. By 4 a.m., Destiny woke up. Her eyes fluttered open, and she looked around the unfamiliar room with confusion. "Mama?" Her voice was hoarse from the breathing tube they'd used earlier. "I'm right here, baby." Imani rushed to her bedside, taking Destiny's small hand in both of hers. "You're okay. You're safe. You had a bad asthma attack, but the doctors helped you." Destiny's gaze drifted past Imani to Harrison, who stood a respectful distance away. "Who's that?" "That's Mr. Mitchell," Imani said. "He's a very kind man who helped us tonight. You can call me Harrison," he said, moving a bit closer. He smiled at Destiny, and Imani noticed the way his entire face softened. "How are you feeling?" "Tired," Destiny whispered. "And my throat hurts." "The doctor said that's normal," Harrison told her. "It should feel better soon." "You're very brave." Destiny managed a small smile before her eyes grew heavy again. Within minutes, she drifted back to sleep, her breathing even and steady. Imani finally allowed herself to collapse into the chair beside the bed. The adrenaline that had been keeping her upright for hours was fading, leaving behind bone-deep exhaustion. "You should get some rest too," Harrison said. "I can't sleep. What if she wakes up and needs something?" Imani rubbed her face with both hands. "Besides, I called in sick to work. I need to find someone to cover my morning shift, or I'll lose that job too." "What do you do?" "I clean office buildings. Night shift at one place, morning shift at another." She laughed bitterly. "Or I used to have both. I'll probably get fired from the morning one for this no-call, no-show." Harrison was quiet for a moment. Then he sat down in the chair next to hers. "Imani, can I ask you something?" She looked at him warily. Here it comes, she thought. The catch. The real reason he was being so generous. Men like him didn't help women like her without expecting something in return. What would you say if I told you I wanted to help you and Destiny with more than just tonight's hospital bill? I'd say that depends on what you want in exchange. Her voice came out harder than she'd intended, but she'd learned the hard way that nothing in life was free. I don't want anything that you're thinking, Harrison said, meeting her eyes steadily. I'm not that kind of man. But I do have a proposition for you. One that might sound crazy, but I'd like you to hear me out. Imani's heart started pounding again. What kind of proposition? Harrison leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his expression serious. I'm 35 years old. I've built a successful company. I have more money than I know what to do with. But there's one thing I can't have, no matter how much money I throw at it. He paused and Imani waited, barely breathing. I can't have children, Harrison continued, his voice rough with emotion. I have a medical condition that makes it impossible. I've known since I was 27. For a long time I buried myself in work, told myself it didn't matter. But lately I've realized how empty my life is. I go home to a huge house with no one in it. I eat dinner alone. I have everything and nothing at the same time. Imani's defensiveness wavered slightly. She heard real pain in his voice, a loneliness that echoed her own. Tonight, when I walked past and heard you begging not to have your daughter taken away, something inside me just broke open, Harrison said. I saw you fighting so hard for her, willing to sacrifice everything. And I thought about how much I wish I had that. Someone to fight for. Someone to come home to. I don't understand what you're asking me, Imani said softly. Harrison took a deep breath. I want to meet you and Destiny for dinner tomorrow evening. Somewhere nice but comfortable. No pressure, no obligations. I just want to talk to both of you, get to know you a little. And then, if you're willing, I have a proposal that could change all of our lives. What kind of proposal? Let's have dinner first, Harrison said, standing up. I don't want to overwhelm you more than I already have tonight. But I promise you, Imani, I'm not trying to take advantage of you. I just want a chance to explain something that's been on my mind for a very long time. He pulled out his wallet again and extracted a business card. My personal cell phone number is on the back. Call me tomorrow when you're ready and I'll arrange everything. Dinner, transportation, whatever you need. Imani took the card with numb fingers. Harrison Mitchell, CEO, Mitchell Technologies. The address listed was in the most expensive part of the city. Why us? She whispered. You could help anyone. You could do anything. Harrison looked back at Destiny, sleeping peacefully in the hospital bed. Because when I saw you tonight, I didn't just see a mother and daughter in trouble. I saw a family that deserves a chance. And maybe, just maybe, I saw my own chance at having what I've always wanted. He walked to the door, then turned back. Get some rest, Imani. Everything's going to be okay. I promise. And then he was gone, leaving Imani alone with a sleeping Destiny, a business card worth more than gold, and 1,000 questions spinning through her exhausted mind. She looked at her daughter, so small and fragile in the big hospital bed. Destiny deserved better than their moldy apartment, better than a mother who worked herself to death and still couldn't afford basic medical care. She deserved stability, safety, a real future. Whatever Harrison Mitchell wanted to propose, Imani decided in that moment she would at least hear him out. For Destiny's sake, if nothing else. Because sometimes the scariest thing wasn't accepting help from a stranger. Sometimes the scariest thing was realizing you had no choice but to trust them. Morning light filtered through the hospital window when Imani woke up, her neck stiff from sleeping in the chair. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The asthma attack. The hospital. Harrison Mitchell. She looked at his business card, which she'd been clutching so tightly it had left creases in her palm. Had last night really happened? Had a stranger really paid over $14,000 for them without blinking? Mama? Destiny's voice was stronger this morning, almost back to normal. Hey, baby girl. Imani moved to the bed, brushing Destiny's braids back from her forehead. How do you feel? Better. Can we go home? Home. The word felt hollow. Their apartment wasn't a home. It was just a place to sleep between shifts, a constant source of stress and worry. Soon, Imani promised. The doctor wants to check on you first. Dr. Reynolds arrived an hour later, pleased with Destiny's progress. The medication worked well. You can take her home today, but you'll need to fill these prescriptions right away. She handed Imani several prescription slips. And remember what I said about the air purifier and avoiding triggers. Imani nodded, doing quick math in her head. Even with her employee discount at the pharmacy where her cousin worked, those medications would cost at least $150. Money she didn't have. After Dr. Reynolds left, a nurse came in with discharge papers and a large gift bag. "This was dropped off for Destiny this morning," the nurse said, smiling. "Along with these." She pointed to 3 beautiful bouquets of bright red and yellow flowers sitting on the windowsill that Imani hadn't noticed. Imani's hands shook as she opened the bag. Inside was a brand new teddy bear, several children's books, a coloring set, and at the bottom an envelope. She opened it to find a note in neat handwriting. "Imani and Destiny, I hope you both rested well. The prescriptions have been filled and paid for at the pharmacy on the first floor. The nurse will bring them before you leave. I also took the liberty of arranging a car service to take you home. The driver will be waiting at the main entrance at noon. My dinner invitation still stands. No pressure, but I hope you'll call. Harrison." Tucked behind the note were 5 crisp $100 bills. Imani stared at the money, her vision blurring. $500. That was groceries for a month. That was the electricity bill she'd been dreading. That was hope. "Mama, look at the bear." Destiny hugged the stuffed animal, which was nearly as big as she was. "He has a blue ribbon." Well, Harrison had been wearing blue. Imani shook her head. She was reading too much into things. The man was just being kind. Wealthy people did charity sometimes. That's all this was. Except it didn't feel like charity. It felt personal. The nurse returned with a bag full of medications, each one labeled with clear instructions. Imani recognized the names from Dr. Reynolds's recommendations. These were the good ones, the expensive brands that actually worked, not the cheap generics that barely helped. At noon exactly, Imani carried Destiny out of the hospital to find a sleek black car waiting. The driver, an older gentleman in a pressed uniform, smiled warmly. "Miss Brooks? I'm Thomas. Mr. Mitchell sent me to drive you home." Imani almost laughed. Home. If Harrison could see where they lived, he'd probably change his mind about whatever proposition he had in mind. But Thomas didn't even blink when they pulled up to the rundown apartment building 40 minutes later. He helped carry Destiny upstairs along with all the bags from the hospital, and tipped his hat politely before leaving. Inside the apartment, Imani looked around with fresh eyes. The single room served as bedroom, living room, and kitchen combined. Water stains marked the ceiling. The carpet was worn through in places. Their mattress sat directly on the floor. They had a hot plate, a mini fridge, and a TV someone had thrown out that Imani had fixed. This was what she'd been able to afford after leaving Jerome. This was their life. Destiny climbed onto the mattress, already absorbed in one of her new books. The child was resilient. She never complained about their situation, never asked why they didn't have what other kids had. She just made do with whatever Imani could provide. That thought made up Imani's mind. She pulled out Harrison's business card and dialed the number on the back before she could second-guess herself. He answered on the first ring. "Imani? How did you know it was me? I've been waiting for your call." She could hear the smile in his voice. "How's Destiny?" "She's doing much better. Thank you for everything. The flowers, the bear, the money. You didn't have to." "I wanted to," Harrison interrupted gently. "Did you think about dinner?" Imani looked at Destiny, who was giggling at something in her book. "Yes, we'll come." "Wonderful. Is 6 o'clock okay? I'll send Thomas to pick you both up. We can take the bus." "Imani." Harrison's voice was kind but firm. "Let me do this. Please." There was that word again. Please. Like he was asking for a favor instead of granting one. "Okay," she relented. 6 o'clock. I'm looking forward to it." After hanging up, Imani opened her ancient laptop, which took 10 minutes to boot up, and searched for Mitchell Technologies. Her eyes widened as she read article after article about Harrison Mitchell. Self-made millionaire. Tech innovator. Philanthropist. Forbes had estimated his net worth at over $200 million. $200 million. And he was asking her, a woman who cleaned toilets for a living, to have dinner with him. The rest of the day crawled by. Imani gave Destiny her new medications, which worked so well that the little girl had more energy than she'd had in months. They played with the coloring books, read stories, and Imani tried not to watch the clock. At 5 o'clock, she faced their closet, which was really just a plastic bin. She owned 3 outfits. The 2 cleaning uniforms and 1 dress she'd bought at a thrift store 2 years ago for a job interview that never panned out. The dress was dark green, simple, and slightly too big, but it was the best she had. She helped Destiny into her nicest outfit, a maroon jumper and white shirt that were getting too small but still looked presentable. Then Imani did her best with her own hair, pulling her natural curls into a neat bun. They didn't have makeup. They didn't have jewelry. But they were clean and presentable. That would have to be enough. Thomas arrived exactly at 6, just as professional as before. This time, Destiny was awake and fascinated by the fancy car. "Where are we going?" she asked Imani as they drove through parts of the city Imani had only seen from bus windows. "To have dinner with Mr. Mitchell. The man who helped us at the hospital. Remember?" Destiny nodded. "He was nice. He smiled at me." Yes, Imani thought. He had. Not with pity but with genuine warmth. The car pulled up to a restaurant that made Imani's stomach drop. It was the kind of place that probably required reservations months in advance. The kind of place where people like her didn't belong. "I can't go in there," she whispered to Thomas. The driver turned around, his expression understanding. "Ms. Brooks, Mr. Mitchell reserved the entire restaurant for the evening. It's just you, your daughter, and him. No one else. No judgment. No pressure. He'd rented the entire restaurant. For them." Imani took a deep breath and stepped out of the car, holding Destiny's hand tightly. Inside, the restaurant was beautiful. Soft lighting, elegant decorations, and at a table in the center, Harrison stood up as they entered. He wore dark slacks and a crisp red button-down shirt, looking effortlessly handsome. "Imani, Destiny." He smiled, walking over to greet them. "I'm so glad you came." He shook Imani's hand, then crouched down to Destiny's level. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" "Good," Destiny said shyly. "Thank you for the bear. I named him Blue." Harrison's smile grew wider. "Blue is a perfect name. Come on, let's eat." "I wasn't sure what you liked, so I had them prepare a bunch of different options." The next 2 hours were unlike anything Imani had experienced. Harrison talked to Destiny with genuine interest, asking about her favorite colors, her favorite stories, what she wanted to be when she grew up. "A doctor," Destiny announced proudly. "So I can help people like the doctors helped me." "That's a wonderful dream," Harrison said. "You know, I have a friend who's a doctor. Maybe someday I can introduce you to her." They ate amazing food. Destiny had chicken fingers and fries, giggling as Harrison showed her how to make funny faces with ketchup. Imani had salmon that melted in her mouth, vegetables she couldn't even name, and bread so fresh it was still warm. For dessert, they shared a chocolate cake that Destiny declared was the best thing ever. Throughout the meal, Harrison shared bits of his own life. He'd grown up poor, raised by a single mother who'd worked 3 jobs to put him through community college. He'd built his company from nothing, taking risks and working 18-hour days. "My mother passed away 5 years ago," he said quietly. "Cancer. She never got to see me successful. That's one of my biggest regrets." "I'm sorry," Imani said, meaning it. She understood loss. Her own father had died when she was 12. After dessert, while Destiny colored on a placemat the waiter had brought, Harrison looked at Imani seriously. "I want to tell you about my medical condition," he said. "I think it's important you understand." Imani nodded, listening as he explained. When he was 27, he'd been diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder that affected his fertility. The doctors had told him he would never father biological children. He tried to accept it, thrown himself into his work, but the loneliness had grown over the years. "I looked into adoption," Harrison continued. "But as a single man it's incredibly difficult. Most agencies prefer couples or married individuals. I've been on waiting lists for 3 years and gotten nowhere." "That must be hard," Imani said softly. "It has been. But last night when I saw you with Destiny, something clicked. Here was a mother who would do anything for her child. Here was a child who deserved every opportunity in the world. And here was I, with resources but no family." He reached across the table, stopping just short of taking her hand. "Imani, I know this is going to sound insane. I know we just met. But I have a proposal, and I want you to really think about it before you answer." Imani's heart hammered. "What is it?" Harrison took a deep breath. "I want to adopt Destiny. Legally, completely. I want to give her my name, my resources, everything I have. I want to make sure she grows up with every advantage, every opportunity. The best schools, the best medical care, whatever she needs." Imani's mouth went dry. "You want to adopt my daughter?" "Yes. But there's more." Harrison's gray eyes held hers steadily. "I also want to marry you." The world seemed to stop spinning. "I'm not talking about romance or love," Harrison continued quickly. "Not at first anyway. I'm talking about a partnership. A family built on mutual respect and the desire to give Destiny the best possible life. We would live together, raise her together, be a real family in every way that matters." Imani couldn't speak. Her mind was reeling. "I know it sounds crazy," Harrison said. "But think about it practically. You need financial security and stability. Destiny needs proper medical care and a safe home. I need a family. We could help each other. And who knows? Maybe over time, something real could develop between us. You can't possibly. Imani started, but her voice failed. I can and I am. Harrison's voice was earnest. Imani, I've built my success by recognizing opportunities and taking calculated risks. This feels right to me. It feels like the answer I've been searching for. Destiny looked up from her coloring, oblivious to the life-changing conversation happening above her head. She smiled at both of them, happy and content. Can I think about it? Imani whispered. Of course. Take all the time you need. Harrison pulled out another envelope from his jacket. In the meantime, this is my attorney's contact information. I want you to have a lawyer look over any agreement we make. I want everything to be legal and fair. I don't want you to ever feel trapped or forced. Imani took the envelope with trembling hands. There's one more thing, Harrison said. Before you make a decision, I'd like to invite you and Destiny to visit my home. See where you'd be living. Make sure it's somewhere you could be comfortable. Maybe this weekend? Okay, Imani heard herself say. This weekend. The ride home passed in a daze. Destiny fell asleep against Imani's shoulder, exhausted from the excitement. Thomas carried the sleepy child upstairs and waited until they were safely inside before leaving. Alone in their shabby apartment, Imani laid Destiny on the mattress and covered her with their thin blanket. Then she sat on the floor, Harrison's business card in one hand and the attorney's envelope in the other. Marry a stranger. Let him adopt Destiny. Move into his world. It was insane. It was impossible. It was everything she'd never dared to dream about. She thought about Destiny's future. Real medical care. Good schools. A safe home. Everything Imani had been trying so desperately to provide but couldn't. She thought about Harrison's eyes when he'd looked at Destiny. The tenderness there had been real. The longing for family had been genuine. And she thought about his words. Who knows? Maybe over time, something real could develop between us. Could it? Could she actually fall in love with a man who was offering her a business arrangement? Did it even matter if the arrangement gave Destiny everything she deserved? Imani pulled out her phone and looked at the balance in her bank account. -$12, thanks to an overdraft fee she'd incurred last week. Then she looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully, breathing easily thanks to the expensive medications Harrison had bought. Sometimes love wasn't the fairy tale. Sometimes love was doing whatever it took to protect your child. Even if it meant marrying a man you just met. Even if it meant accepting help you'd never dare to ask for. Even if it meant trusting a stranger with your entire future. Imani made her decision right then in that cold apartment, watching her daughter sleep. She would say yes. For Destiny's sake, she would say yes to all of it. Saturday arrived faster than Imani expected. She'd barely slept, her mind spinning through endless scenarios and what-ifs. During the day, she kept her phone close, half expecting Harrison to call and say he'd changed his mind. That he'd realized how ridiculous his proposal was. But the call that came was Thomas, confirming he'd pick them up at noon. We're something comfortable, Harrison's message said. We'll just be relaxing and getting to know each other better. Comfortable. Imani looked at their meager wardrobe and settled on clean jeans and the same green dress worn as a shirt. Destiny wore her maroon jumper again. It was the best they had. The drive took nearly an hour, leaving the crowded city behind for sprawling suburbs and finally a gated community where each house sat on what looked like acres of land. Mama, look at the big houses. Destiny pressed her face to the window. They're like castles. When Thomas turned through iron gates onto a private drive, Imani's breath caught. The house, if you could call it that, was massive. 3 stories of cream-colored stone and huge windows, surrounded by perfectly manicured gardens. A fountain bubbled in the circular driveway. This can't be real, Imani whispered. Mr. Mitchell has worked very hard, Thomas said kindly. He's also a very good man. Don't let the money intimidate you. Easy for him to say. Thomas wasn't about to walk into a mansion and pretend he belonged there. But when Harrison opened the front door, wearing jeans and a soft blue sweater that made his eyes look even more striking, his smile was so warm and genuine that some of Imani's anxiety eased. Welcome, he said, gesturing them inside. Come in, please. I want to show you everything. The entryway alone was bigger than their entire apartment. Marble floors, a grand staircase, artwork on the walls that probably cost more than Imani would make in 10 lifetimes. Wow, Destiny breathed, her eyes huge. Harrison laughed. It is a bit much, isn't it? I bought it 3 years ago thinking I'd grow into it. Instead, it just feels empty most days. He led them through the house, pointing out the chef's kitchen, the dining room with a table that could seat 20, the library filled with books, the home theater, the gym. Each room was beautiful and perfectly decorated. But it was the next room that made Destiny gasp with pure delight. "I thought if this works out, Destiny might like this room," Harrison said, opening a door on the second floor. Inside was a child's dream. The walls were painted soft pink with white clouds and butterflies. There was a bed shaped like a castle with gauzy curtains, shelves filled with toys and books, a window seat overlooking the gardens, and in the corner, a small desk perfect for homework. For me. Destiny looked between Harrison and Imani, hardly daring to believe it. "If you decide to live here, yes," Harrison said. "But only if your mama says it's okay." Destiny ran to Imani, tugging on her hand. "Mama, can we? Please?" Imani's throat tightened. She knelt down to Destiny's level. "Baby, Mr. Mitchell and I need to talk about some grown-up things first. Why don't you look at the books in this room for a little while?" "Okay." Destiny was already pulling volumes off the shelves, delighted. Harrison led Imani to a sitting room down the hall. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the property. The furniture was modern but comfortable. He gestured to a leather couch and took a seat across from her in a matching chair. "So," he said, "have you thought about my proposal?" Imani folded her hands in her lap to keep them from shaking. "I have. I even called that attorney you recommended." She explained how everything would work legally. Harrison nodded. "And? I have questions first." "Of course. Ask me anything." Imani took a breath. "Why marriage? If you just want to adopt Destiny, couldn't you do that without marrying me?" "Legally it would be very difficult," Harrison explained. "Family courts heavily favor two-parent households, especially for children with medical needs. A married couple adopting is much more likely to be approved than a single man trying to take a child from her biological mother. So this is just a practical arrangement." "It starts that way, yes." Harrison leaned forward, his expression serious. "But Imani, I'm not going into this planning to keep things cold and businesslike forever. I genuinely want to build a family. I want to come home to people who are happy to see me. I want to have dinner together and hear about everyone's day. I want birthdays and holidays and all the ordinary moments that make life meaningful. What if we can't stand each other after a few months? That's why I want to be completely transparent about expectations." Harrison pulled out a folder from the side table. "I had my attorney draw up a preliminary agreement. Nothing is set in stone yet, and you should have your own lawyer review everything. But basically, here's what I'm proposing." He walked her through it. They would marry within a month to start the adoption process immediately. Imani and Destiny would move in right away. Harrison would pay for everything: housing, food, medical care, education, everything. Imani would have her own bank account with a monthly allowance, no questions asked about how she spent it. "If after a year you decide this isn't working, we can divorce amicably," Harrison continued. "You'll receive a settlement that will allow you to live comfortably and support Destiny. The adoption papers would be structured so we'd share custody, but Destiny would still have all the advantages of being my legal daughter." "You just let us go?" Imani couldn't hide her disbelief. "After giving us all this?" "I'm not doing this to trap you." Harrison's voice was gentle but firm. "I'm doing this because I believe we could build something good together. But I also know you can't force connection. If it doesn't happen naturally, I'd rather you be happy somewhere else than miserable here." Imani looked down at the contract, the words blurring. This man was offering her a way out of poverty, a future for Destiny, and an escape route if it all went wrong. It was more than generous. It was almost too good to be true. "What about the physical side of marriage?" she asked, forcing herself to meet his eyes. "You said you want a real family, but—" "We take that at whatever pace feels right," Harrison said, his cheeks coloring slightly. "I'm not expecting anything from you that you're not ready to give. We can have separate bedrooms at first. We can take things slow. I want you to feel safe and comfortable here." Safe. The word resonated through Imani's chest. When was the last time she'd felt truly safe? "There's something I need to tell you," Imani said, her voice barely above a whisper. "About Destiny's father." Harrison's expression didn't change. "Okay. His name is Jerome. Jerome Carter. We were together for 3 years. He hurt me. A lot. Especially when he was drinking." The words came out flat, emotionless because Imani had learned to talk about it that way to keep from breaking down. "I finally left him 2 years ago, took Destiny and ran. I filed for full custody and he didn't contest it. He hasn't seen her since." "Did he ever hurt Destiny?" "No. I made sure of that. The one time he raised his hand near her, I knew I had to go. But he could show up. He could try to claim parental rights. I need you to know that's a possibility. Harrison was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was hard with an edge Imani hadn't heard before. If he shows up, we'll deal with it legally. I have the best attorneys in the state. And Imani, I promise you I would never hurt you or Destiny. Ever. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and I was raised to believe that anyone who puts their hands on a woman or child is the lowest form of human being. Tears pricked Imani's eyes. Thank you. You don't need to thank me for basic decency. Harrison's voice softened again. But I appreciate you telling me. It helps me understand what you've been through. Destiny's laughter drifted from down the hall. She was singing to herself, completely content. She likes it here, Imani said. Do you? Imani looked around the beautiful room, then out at the gardens. She thought about their moldy apartment, about working 2 jobs and still not having enough, about the constant fear of one wrong step landing them on the streets. Then she thought about Harrison's kindness. The way he'd paid their hospital bills without hesitation. The way he'd talked to Destiny with genuine interest. The way he'd laid out this proposal with complete honesty, giving her every opportunity to say no. I like that you're giving us a choice, she said finally. I like that you're not pretending this is something it's not. And I like that you seem to genuinely care about Destiny's well-being. I do. More than I expected to after just meeting her. Harrison smiled slightly. She's a special little girl. Brave and sweet and smart. You've done an amazing job raising her under impossible circumstances. The compliment hit Imani harder than she expected. No one ever acknowledged how hard she worked, how much she sacrificed. Okay, she said before she could second-guess herself. I'll do it. We'll do it. Harrison's entire face lit up. Really? Yes. For Destiny. Because she deserves this chance. And because... Imani swallowed hard. Because I think you're a good man, Harrison Mitchell. I think you mean what you say. And I think maybe, possibly, this could work. Harrison stood up and extended his hand. Partners? Imani stood too, placing her hand in his. Partners. His grip was warm and steady. Looking into his eyes, Imani felt the strangest sensation. Not attraction exactly, but something else. A connection. A sense that maybe this wasn't as crazy as it seemed. Can we tell Destiny? Harrison asked. Yes. But let's explain it in a way she can understand. They walked back to the pink bedroom together. Destiny was curled up on the window seat, reading a picture book about space. Destiny, honey, come here for a minute, Imani said. Destiny bounced over, looking between them hopefully. Did you make a decision? We did. Imani knelt down and took her daughter's hands. Mr. Mitchell has asked us to come live here with him. He wants to be part of our family. How would you feel about that? Really? We can stay here? Destiny's eyes went wide. Yes, Harrison said, also kneeling so he was at Destiny's level. And Destiny, there's something else. I'd like to adopt you. That means I'd be your dad legally. You'd have my last name and I'd take care of you and your mama. Would that be okay with you? Destiny looked at Imani. Would you still be my mama? Always, baby. Nothing will ever change that. And Mr. Mitchell would be my daddy? If you want him to be, Imani said softly. Destiny thought about this for maybe 10 seconds. Then she threw her arms around Harrison's neck. Yes, I want that. Harrison hugged her back and over Destiny's shoulder, his eyes met Imani's. They were shining with unshed tears. In that moment, Imani felt something shift. This arrangement might have started as practical, but watching this lonely man hold her daughter with such tenderness, she realized it was already becoming something more. Maybe not love. Not yet. But definitely hope. And for now, hope was enough. The next 2 weeks passed in a whirlwind. Harrison didn't waste any time. Within 3 days, Imani and Destiny had moved out of their apartment and into the mansion. Thomas and another driver had helped move their few belongings, which looked pathetic spread across one corner of Destiny's enormous new room. We'll go shopping, Harrison had said when he saw how little they owned. Whatever you both need. Shopping turned out to mean hiring a personal stylist who came to the house with racks of clothes. Imani protested at first, but Harrison was firm. You're going to be my wife, he said. You'll need appropriate clothes for events and dinners. Let me do this. So Imani stood in her new bedroom, which was connected to Harrison's by a shared bathroom, while a woman named Patricia dressed her in outfit after outfit. Dresses, casual wear, professional clothes, exercise gear. By the end, Imani had a closet full of beautiful things in bright colors. Red blouses, green dresses, blue sweaters, maroon pants. Destiny got the same treatment. Her tiny wardrobe expanded to include everything a 5-year-old could want. Dresses for special occasions, play clothes, pajamas with her favorite cartoon characters. "This is too much," Imani told Harrison that night at dinner. They'd established a routine quickly. Dinner together every evening at 6, all three of them at the big table. Harrison had hired a chef, a warm woman named Rosa who seemed delighted to cook for a child. "It's not too much," Harrison replied, cutting his chicken. "It's normal. Every child should have enough clothes to wear." Destiny, her mouth full of mashed potatoes, nodded enthusiastically. Imani had to admit, seeing Destiny thrive was worth the discomfort of accepting so much help. The little girl had gained weight in just 2 weeks. Her asthma, managed by the expensive medications and the air purifiers Harrison had installed throughout the house, barely bothered her anymore. She smiled constantly, explored every corner of the mansion and asked questions about everything. Harrison was patient with all of it. He showed Destiny his home office, explaining what his company did in simple terms. He let her help him feed the koi in the pond out back. He read her bedtime stories in funny voices that made her giggle. Imani watched these interactions from the doorway sometimes, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. "You're good with her," she told Harrison one night after Destiny had fallen asleep. They were in the library, Imani curled up on one couch with a book, Harrison working on his laptop in a chair across from her. This had become their routine too. After Destiny went to bed, they spent an hour together, sometimes talking, sometimes just being in the same room quietly. "She makes it easy," Harrison said, smiling. "She's curious about everything. I love that. She is curious. Takes after her grandfather. My dad was like that too." Imani closed her book. "He would have liked you. Tell me about him." So Imani did. She talked about her father, who'd worked construction but loved reading. About how he died when she was 12, leaving her mother to raise 3 kids alone. About how she'd met Jerome when she was 19, fresh out of high school with no real plan, and how he'd seemed charming at first. "I got pregnant with Destiny when I was 20, Imani said quietly. "Jerome was furious. He wanted me to get rid of her. I refused, and that's when he first hit me." Harrison's hands tightened on his laptop, but he didn't interrupt. "I stayed because I didn't know what else to do. My mom had remarried and moved out of state. My siblings had their own lives. I thought I could make it work. But it just got worse." Imani pulled her knees up to her chest. "Leaving him was the scariest thing I ever did. I had no money, nowhere to go, a newborn baby. But I did it anyway because I knew if I didn't, one day he'd kill me." "You're incredibly brave," Harrison said softly. "I don't feel brave. I feel like I barely survived." "Sometimes that's the same thing." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Harrison closed his laptop. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Of course. I'm terrified I'm going to screw this up." His admission surprised her. "I've never been a father. I don't know what I'm doing. What if I make mistakes? What if Destiny ends up resenting me?" "Harrison." Imani set her book aside and moved to sit on the arm of his chair. "You're already doing great. You're patient, kind, and you actually listen to her. That's more than a lot of biological fathers manage. I just want to get it right." "So do I. We'll figure it out together." Harrison looked up at her, and for a moment, something passed between them. Not attraction exactly, but recognition. They were both broken people trying to build something whole. "We should probably talk about the wedding," Harrison said, breaking the moment. "Right. The wedding." In their rush to get Destiny settled, they'd barely discussed it. "The attorney says we should do it soon to strengthen the adoption case," Harrison continued. "I was thinking maybe 3 weeks from now? Something small and simple. Just us, a few witnesses, and the legal requirements." "That sounds good." Imani's stomach fluttered nervously. In 3 weeks, she'd be Mrs. Harrison Mitchell. The thought was surreal. "Unless you want something bigger?" Harrison asked. "If you've always dreamed of a certain kind of wedding, I can make that happen." Imani almost laughed. "I don't have dreams like that. I'm just trying to survive day to day." "Well, maybe now you can start having dreams." It was such a simple statement, but it hit Imani hard. Dreams. When had she stopped allowing herself to dream? The next morning, Harrison announced he'd taken the day off work. "We're going out," he told Imani and Destiny over breakfast. "Family outing." "Where?" Destiny bounced in her chair. "You'll see." They ended up at an aquarium 2 hours away. Destiny was transfixed by the fish, the sharks, the dolphins. Harrison bought her a stuffed turtle from the gift shop that she named Shelley and carried everywhere. Watching them together, something in Imani's chest loosened. She pulled out her phone and took a picture of Harrison kneeling next to Destiny in front of the beluga whale tank, both of them pointing and laughing at something. Later, when they stopped for lunch, Imani looked at the photo. They already looked like a family. "What are you smiling at?" Harrison asked, sliding into the booth next to her while Destiny colored on her kids' menu across the table. "Nothing. Just thinking how much has changed in 2 weeks." "Good changes?" "Mostly good. Scary but good." Imani hesitated. "Harrison, I need to ask you something." "Anything. Why are you really doing this? And don't tell me it's just about wanting a family. You could have adopted through an agency eventually. You could have hired a surrogate. Why specifically us?" Harrison was quiet for a long moment, watching Destiny color. "Honestly, I'm not sure I can explain it. When I saw you in that hospital fighting so hard for your daughter, something just clicked. You reminded me of my mother. She fought like that for me and my brother. Against poverty, against people who said we'd never amount to anything, against a system designed to keep us down." He turned to look at Imani. "You're a fighter. You're strong. And I realized that's exactly the kind of person I want to build a family with. Not someone who wants me for my money, but someone who'd keep fighting even without it. I'm not that strong. You left an abusive relationship with nothing but a baby and your determination. You worked multiple jobs to keep a roof over her head. You've never given up, even when it would have been easier to." Harrison's voice was intense. "Imani, you're the strongest person I've ever met." Tears pricked Imani's eyes. She blinked them back, not wanting to cry in a family restaurant. "Thank you," she managed to say. Harrison reached across the table and squeezed her hand. The touch was brief but warm. Imani found herself hoping he'd do it again. That night, after Destiny was asleep, Imani found Harrison in his office, staring at his computer screen with a frown. "Everything okay?" she asked from the doorway. He looked up, his expression troubled. "I got an email from my attorney. Jerome hired a lawyer." Imani's blood ran cold. "What?" "He's filing for visitation rights. He claims he's been trying to see Destiny but you've refused access." "That's a lie." Imani's voice shook. "He hasn't contacted me in 2 years. He signed away his rights." "Did he? Legally?" Harrison asked gently. "Or did he just stop showing up?" Imani tried to remember. Jerome had never been on the birth certificate. They'd never been to court about custody. He just left. "I thought if he didn't contest custody that was the same thing," she whispered. "It's not. But don't panic." Harrison stood up and walked over to her. "My attorney is the best in the state. We'll fight this. We'll show the court his abandonment, his history of abuse. We'll protect Destiny." What if he takes her? The fear that had lived in Imani's chest for 2 years exploded back to life. What if they give him visitation and he runs? "I won't let that happen." Harrison's voice was steel. "I promise you, Imani. I will not let Jerome Carter anywhere near that little girl." Imani wanted to believe him. But she'd been let down so many times before. "Come on," Harrison said, taking her hand. "Let's go check on Destiny." They walked upstairs together to the pink bedroom. Destiny was fast asleep. Shelley the turtle clutched in one arm, Blue the bear in the other. She looked so peaceful, so safe. "She deserves to stay this happy," Imani whispered. "She will," Harrison promised. "We'll make sure of it." Standing there in the doorway watching their daughter sleep, Imani realized something. She'd stopped thinking of it as, "my daughter," and started thinking, "our daughter." She glanced at Harrison, who was watching Destiny with such protective tenderness that it made Imani's heart ache. 3 weeks until they got married. 3 weeks until this became legally permanent. And for the first time, Imani wasn't scared of that deadline. She was looking forward to it. The law office was impressive. All dark wood and leather, with views of the city from the 30th floor. Imani sat in a conference room next to Harrison, facing his attorney, Margaret Wu, a sharp woman in her 50s with kind eyes behind rectangular glasses. "I won't lie to you," Margaret said, spreading documents across the table. "Jerome Carter's filing complicates things. He's claiming parental alienation and requesting immediate supervised visitation." "He abandoned us," Imani said, her hands clenched in her lap. "He hasn't sent a single dollar of child support, hasn't called, hasn't even asked how Destiny is doing." "I believe you. And we'll prove it." Margaret pulled out a folder. "I've already started gathering evidence. I pulled records showing he never filed for custody, never paid support, never even tried to contact you through legal channels. But we need more. Do you have any documentation? Texts, emails, anything that shows his neglect or abuse?" Imani's stomach sank. I had to leave my old phone behind when I ran. It had everything on it, all the threatening messages, pictures of bruises. I couldn't risk him tracking me through it. Understandable but unfortunate. Margaret made notes. What about witnesses? Anyone who saw the abuse or can testify to his abandonment? My old neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. She called the cops twice when Jerome was hitting me. And my friend Keisha. Wait, no, not her name. Imani corrected herself quickly, knowing Harrison's preferences. My friend Tasha saw the bruises. She helped me pack the night I left. Good. I'll need their contact information. Margaret turned to Harrison. And you're certain you want to proceed with the adoption despite this complication? Absolutely, Harrison said without hesitation. Destiny is going to be my daughter. Jerome Carter doesn't change that. Then we'll need to accelerate your wedding plans. A married couple has much stronger standing in family court than an engaged couple. Margaret looked between them. How soon can you do it? This weekend, Harrison said. We'll get the license tomorrow. Imani blinked. This weekend. That was 3 days away. Margaret nodded approvingly. Excellent. I'll file the paperwork immediately after. We'll show the court a stable, married household ready to provide for Destiny's needs. Meanwhile, I'll petition to deny Jerome's visitation request based on abandonment and safety concerns. The meeting continued for another hour, covering details that made Imani's head spin. Legal procedures, court dates, documentation requirements. By the time they left, she felt overwhelmed. In the car ride home, she was quiet, staring out the window. Talk to me, Harrison said gently. What are you thinking? I'm scared, Imani admitted. What if the judge sides with Jerome? What if they think a biological father, even a terrible one, is better than an adoption? That's not going to happen. You can't know that. Harrison was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face her. Imani, look at me. She did, meeting his steady gray eyes. I have spent my entire adult life building something from nothing, Harrison said. I've faced competitors who tried to destroy my company. I've dealt with lawsuits, patent disputes, corporate espionage. And I've won every single time because I don't give up when something matters to me. He reached over and took her hand. Destiny matters to me. You matter to me. This family we're building matters more than anything else in my life. Jerome Carter is not going to take that away. Do you trust me? Did she? Imani realized with surprise that she did. In just 3 weeks, this man had proven himself more reliable than anyone she'd ever known. Yes, she said. I trust you. Harrison squeezed her hand, then pulled back onto the road. Good. Because we're going to win this. Together. That night at dinner, Destiny noticed something was wrong. Mama, why aren't you eating? Imani looked down at her untouched plate. Rosa had made her favorite, chicken parmesan, but she had no appetite. Just thinking about grown-up stuff, baby? Is it about my daddy? Both Imani and Harrison froze. Destiny had never asked about Jerome before. What do you mean? Imani asked carefully. Destiny pushed her peas around her plate. Some kids at the park asked where my daddy was. I said I didn't have one. But then I remembered I do have one. He just doesn't live with us. Harrison and Imani exchanged glances. They'd need to tell her eventually about Jerome's attempt to re-enter their lives. That's true, Imani said slowly. Your biological father lives somewhere else. But Mr. Harrison is going to become your dad soon. Is that okay with you? I like Mr. Harrison better, Destiny said matter-of-factly. He's nice. He reads me stories and doesn't yell. Harrison's expression softened. Thank you, sweetheart. That means a lot to me. After Destiny went to bed, Imani found Harrison in the library again, but this time he wasn't working. He was just sitting in the dark, staring out the window. Hey, she said softly, turning on a lamp. You okay? I should be asking you that. I'm managing. Barely, but managing. Imani sat down across from him. What's on your mind? Harrison was quiet for a long moment. I'm angry. At Jerome for trying to disrupt Destiny's life after abandoning her. At the system for making you jump through hoops to protect your own child. At myself for not being able to fix this faster. You're doing everything you can. It doesn't feel like enough. Harrison ran his hands through his hair. What kind of father am I going to be if I can't even protect her from the first threat that comes along? Harrison. Imani moved to sit next to him on the couch. You're already protecting her. You hired the best lawyer. You're marrying me to strengthen our case. You've given her a safe home and medical care. That's more protection than most kids ever get. I just want her to be happy. Both of you. We are happy. Happier than we've been in years. Imani surprised herself by taking his hand. This thing with Jerome is scary, but we'll get through it. We have each other now. Harrison looked down at their joined hands, then back up at her face. When did you start being the one reassuring me? Probably around the same time you started actually caring about our well-being instead of just going through the motions of charity. Imani smiled slightly. We're in this together, remember? Partners. Partners? Harrison echoed. Then, hesitantly, Imani, can I ask you something personal? Sure. When we get married this weekend, where do you want to sleep? Imani's breath caught. They'd been dancing around this question for weeks. I don't know, she admitted. Part of me thinks separate rooms make sense. We barely know each other. But another part thinks if we're going to convince a judge this marriage is real, maybe we should actually share a room. I don't want you to do anything you're not comfortable with. I know. That's one of the things I appreciate about you. Imani thought about it. What if we share a room but sleep in separate beds? At least at first. We can say you snore or I'm a restless sleeper or something if anyone asks. Harrison smiled. I do actually snore sometimes. Or so I've been told. By who? Imani realized she knew almost nothing about Harrison's romantic past. A girlfriend from about 5 years ago. We dated for a year, but when I told her about my infertility, she left. Harrison's voice was matter-of-fact, but Imani heard the old hurt underneath. Said she'd always dreamed of having biological children and couldn't give that up. I'm sorry. Don't be. If she couldn't accept that part of me, she wasn't the right person anyway. Harrison looked at Imani. At least you know from the start what you're getting into. Yeah. A sterile millionaire who wants to marry me this weekend to adopt my daughter while fighting off her abusive ex. Imani laughed, slightly hysterical. My life is ridiculous. Our life, Harrison corrected. And yeah, it is ridiculous. But it's also kind of wonderful, isn't it? Imani thought about Destiny upstairs, safe and healthy and happy. She thought about this beautiful home, the full refrigerator, the lack of constant fear and exhaustion. Yeah, she said softly. It really is. They sat together in comfortable silence for a while. Then Harrison stood up. I should show you something, he said. Come with me. He led her upstairs to the master bedroom. Imani had only been in there a few times, always feeling like she was intruding on Harrison's private space. Now he opened the door to the huge walk-in closet. One side was full of his clothes. The other side, Imani realized with surprise, had been completely cleared out. For you, Harrison said. I had everything moved to the guest room closet. If we're going to share this space, you should have equal room for your things. Imani looked at the empty shelves, the bare hanging rods. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. This is your home now. Not a place you're just visiting. Harrison gestured around the bedroom. I was thinking we could get another bed and put it along that wall. Maybe a reading chair by the window. Whatever would make you comfortable. You've really thought about this. I want this to work, Imani. Not just the legal arrangement but the actual partnership. I want you to feel like this is truly your space too. Imani walked to the window, looking out over the moonlit gardens. Less than a month ago, she'd been sleeping on a mattress on the floor, wondering how she'd pay next month's rent. Now she was standing in a mansion, planning to share a bedroom with a man who was offering her the world. Harrison, she said, turning back to him. Why are you so good to us? He came to stand next to her at the window. Because you deserve it. Because Destiny deserves it. And maybe because I deserve to have a family too. When he said it like that, so simple and honest, Imani couldn't help but smile. Okay then, she said. Let's do this. Let's get married this weekend and show Jerome Carter that he doesn't get to waltz back into Destiny's life whenever he feels like it. That's my girl, Harrison said, then caught himself. I mean, that's the spirit. But Imani had noticed the slip. Your girl, she repeated softly. I kind of like that. The look Harrison gave her was warm enough to make her feel things she wasn't quite ready to examine yet. 3 days until the wedding. 3 days until everything changed permanently. And for the first time since this whole crazy arrangement started, Imani realized she wasn't just doing this for Destiny anymore. She was doing it for herself too. Because somewhere along the way she'd started to believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved happiness as well. If you've ever felt like giving up on love, don't go anywhere. What happens next in this story might just restore your faith in second chances. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss how Harrison and Imani's relationship takes an unexpected turn that will warm your heart. Drop a comment telling me, would you take a chance on someone offering you everything, even if it started as just an arrangement? The wedding was small and simple, exactly as they'd planned. On Saturday morning, Imani stood in her bedroom, looking at the white dress hanging on the closet door. Not a wedding gown, just a simple knee-length white dress with blue flowers embroidered around the neckline. "You look beautiful, Mama," Destiny said from where she sat on the bed in her maroon dress, the one they bought special for this day. "Thank you, baby." Imani's hands shook as she fastened a necklace, a simple silver chain Harrison had given her that morning. A knock sounded at the door. "Imani? You ready?" It was Thomas, who was serving as one of the witnesses. "Almost." 15 minutes later, Imani walked down the grand staircase, Destiny holding her hand. At the bottom, in the living room where they'd rearranged furniture to create a small ceremony space, Harrison waited. He wore a dark blue suit with a red tie. His eyes widened when he saw Imani. "You're stunning," he said softly as she reached him. "You clean up pretty nice yourself." The officiant, a friendly woman named Judge Morrison who Harrison knew personally, smiled at them both. "Shall we begin?" The ceremony was quick. Traditional vows, exchanged with only slight trembling in both their voices. When Judge Morrison said, "You may kiss the bride," Harrison leaned in and gave Imani the gentlest kiss on her lips, barely a touch, but enough to make her heart skip. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," Judge Morrison announced. Destiny cheered and Thomas and Rosa, who'd also witnessed, applauded. Just like that, Imani Brooks became Imani Mitchell. The small reception was just the five of them, with a beautiful cake Rosa had made and champagne for the adults. Destiny got sparkling cider and felt very grown up. "To new beginnings," Harrison toasted, raising his glass. "To family." "To family," Imani echoed, clinking her glass against his. Later, after everyone had left and Destiny was in bed, Imani stood in the master bedroom, looking at the two beds they'd set up. Harrison's king-size bed in its usual place, and a new queen-size bed along the far wall, set up with beautiful green bedding. "This is strange," she said when Harrison came in from checking on Destiny one last time. "Which part? Being married or sharing a room?" "Both. All of it." Imani laughed. "This morning I woke up as a single mother living in your guest room. Now I'm your wife, sharing your bedroom, legally tied to you. Having second thoughts?" "No. Just processing." Imani sat on her new bed. "Harrison, can I ask you something?" "Always." "When you kissed me earlier, was that just for show?" Harrison sat on his own bed, facing her across the room. "Honestly, I'm not sure. Part of it was because the judge expected it. But part of it was because I wanted to." Imani's heart did that complicated flip again. "Oh. Is that okay?" "Yeah. It's okay." Imani looked down at her hands. "I think I wanted to too. Which is weird because a month ago I didn't even know you existed, and now you're my husband. Life is strange like that sometimes." They got ready for bed in their separate bathrooms, an arrangement Harrison had insisted on to give Imani privacy. When they were both settled under their respective covers, Harrison turned off the main light, leaving just a small lamp on. "Good night, Imani," he said softly. "Good night, Harrison." Imani lay awake for a long time, listening to Harrison's breathing even out across the room. Eventually, soft snores confirmed what he'd said about that quirk. She smiled in the darkness. She was married. Actually married. And strangely she felt safe. The next morning they fell into a new routine. Harrison made breakfast while Imani got Destiny ready for the day. They ate together, discussing plans. "I was thinking," Harrison said, buttering toast, "maybe we should enroll Destiny in a good preschool program. It would help her socialize with other kids, prepare her for kindergarten next year." "She'd like that," Imani agreed. "She gets lonely here sometimes with just us adults. There's an excellent school about 20 minutes away. I already called and they have openings." Of course he had. Harrison was nothing if not efficient. Over the next week they established new patterns. Harrison taught Destiny to swim in the pool, patient as she learned to float. Imani started taking online courses toward her degree, something she'd always dreamed of but never had time or money for. Harrison had enrolled her without asking, just presented her with the access codes one morning. "You can't just keep buying things for me," Imani had protested. "I can and I will," Harrison had replied. "You're brilliant, Imani. You should have the chance to use that brain for something more than cleaning toilets." In the evenings, after Destiny went to bed, Imani and Harrison continued their library talks. But now she noticed they sat closer together. Sometimes on the same couch instead of across the room. One night, Harrison showed her photos from his childhood. His mother, who he looked like. His younger brother, who died in a car accident 10 years ago. "I'm sorry," Imani said, looking at the picture of Harrison with his arm around a young man who shared his smile. You've lost a lot. We all have. Harrison put the photo away. But we keep going. We find new people to love. New reasons to be happy. Is that what we are? New reasons to be happy? I hope so. Harrison looked at her seriously. Are you happy, Imani? I think I am, she said slowly. Which is scary because I keep waiting for something to go wrong. What if nothing goes wrong? What if this actually works? Then I guess I'd have to admit I was wrong about fairy tales not existing. Harrison laughed. This isn't a fairy tale. Fairy tales don't involve hostile exes and legal battles. True. But they do involve finding someone who actually cares about you. Imani looked at him. You care about us, don't you? It's not just the arrangement anymore. No, it's not just the arrangement. Harrison's voice was quiet. Somewhere along the way it became real for me. You're not just a solution to my loneliness. You're Imani. Funny, smart, strong Imani who makes me laugh and calls me out when I'm being too controlling and looks at me like I'm not just a wallet with a heartbeat. Imani's throat tightened. You've never been just a wallet to me. I know. That's one of the things I love, like about you. Harrison caught himself, but not before Imani heard the slip. Well, the word hung in the air between them. Neither of them acknowledged it, but something had shifted. That night, as they lay in their separate beds in the darkness, Imani spoke into the quiet. Harrison. Yeah. Thank you. For everything. For being patient with me. For caring about Destiny. For making this feel less like a business deal and more like a real marriage. You don't need to thank me for that. I do though. Because I'm starting to care about you too. As more than just the guy who saved us. Silence. Then, that's good to know. Yeah. Because I've been hoping you might feel that way eventually. Imani smiled in the dark. Good night, Harrison. Good night, wife. Wife. The word made her heart flutter. 2 weeks into their marriage, the pool incident happened. Imani was inside making lunch when she heard a splash and then Destiny's scream. She ran outside to find Destiny flailing in the deep end of the pool. Harrison was already diving in, fully clothed. He grabbed Destiny and pulled her to the side, lifting her out of the water. She was crying but okay, coughing up water. I slipped, Destiny sobbed. I was walking too close to the edge and I slipped. It's okay, you're safe, Harrison soothed, wrapping a towel around her. You're okay now. Imani's legs gave out. She sat on the pool deck, shaking. Harrison came to her, still dripping, and pulled her into his arms. She's fine, he said. I've got you. You're both fine. Imani buried her face in his wet shirt, not caring that she was getting soaked. The fear had been overwhelming, that moment of thinking she might lose Destiny. But Harrison had been there. He'd saved her. That night, after Destiny was asleep, Imani found Harrison on the back patio, staring at the now-covered pool. I'm having a fence installed tomorrow, he said. And pool alarms. That should never have been able to happen. It was an accident. I should have been watching more carefully. Harrison's voice was tight with guilt. Imani came to stand next to him. You jumped in immediately. You saved her. That's what matters. I just keep thinking, what if I hadn't been there? What if you'd been alone and she'd fallen in? But you were there. And you'll keep being there. Imani took his hand. That's what makes you a good father, Harrison. You care. You protect. You show up. Harrison turned to look at her. Do you really think of me as her father now? I think Destiny does. She started calling you Daddy H to her stuffed animals the other day. Did you know that? She did. Yeah. I heard her playing with her dolls, saying, Daddy H will fix it, and Daddy H always knows what to do. Harrison's eyes got suspiciously bright. I don't even have words for what that means to me. You're a good man, Harrison Mitchell. Imani stepped closer. A really good man. Imani. His voice was rough. Yeah. Can I kiss you? For real this time, not just for show. Imani's breath caught. She nodded. Harrison cupped her face gently and leaned in. This kiss was nothing like the brief peck at their wedding. This was real, deep, full of everything they'd been building over the past month. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Imani rested her forehead against his. Well, she said. That was something. Harrison laughed. Yeah, it really was. Are we doing this? Imani asked. For real? Not just the arrangement but actually trying to build something? I want to. If you do. I do. Imani smiled at the echo of their wedding vows. I really do. They stood together under the stars, holding each other, and Imani felt something she hadn't felt in years. Joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. Whatever happened with Jerome, whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As a family. As partners who were becoming something more. As husband and wife who were learning to love. Margaret Wu called on a Tuesday morning with news. "We have a court date," she told Harrison over speakerphone while Imani listened in. 3 weeks from now. The judge will hear Jerome's petition for visitation and our counterpetition for adoption. What are our chances? Imani asked, her hands clenched together. Better than they were. Your marriage strengthens our case significantly. But I need to warn you, Jerome's attorney is claiming he's gotten sober and wants to make amends. They'll paint him as a reformed man denied the chance to know his daughter. He's lying, Imani said flatly. Jerome doesn't change. He just gets better at hiding who he really is. I believe you, but we need evidence. I've hired a private investigator to look into Jerome's current situation. If he's not as reformed as he claims, we'll find out. After the call ended, Imani felt sick. Harrison pulled her into his arms. We're going to win this, he said for the 100th time. You can't guarantee that. No, but I can guarantee I'm going to fight like hell. Jerome Carter is not taking our daughter. Our daughter. The words weren't slipping anymore. They were intentional. Imani tilted her head back to look at Harrison. Over the past month, they'd grown so much closer. The goodnight kisses had become routine. So had the casual touches throughout the day, the way Harrison's hand would find the small of her back when they walked, the way Imani would lean into him while they watched TV. They still slept in separate beds, but some mornings Imani woke to find Harrison asleep in the chair by her bed, having come over during the night to watch over her after a nightmare. I love you, she said suddenly. The words just came out, unexpected and true. Harrison stilled. What? I love you. I don't know when it happened exactly, maybe it's been building this whole time, but I love you, Harrison. As more than just my husband on paper. As the man who saved us, who cares for Destiny like she's his own, who makes me laugh and holds me when I cry and is the best person I've ever known. Harrison's eyes were suspiciously bright. Imani Brooks Mitchell, I have been in love with you for 3 weeks. Since the day you agreed to marry me and looked at me like I was offering you the world instead of you offering me everything. We're offering each other everything, Imani corrected, then kissed him. This kiss was different from all the others. This was a kiss between two people who'd found each other in the strangest circumstances and somehow made it work. Daddy H? Mama? Destiny's voice came from the doorway. Are you guys kissing? They pulled apart, both laughing. Maybe a little, Harrison admitted, scooping Destiny up. Is that okay with you? Destiny giggled. Yeah. Miss Rosa says married people kiss all the time. Does she now? Imani smiled. What else does Miss Rosa say? That you and Daddy H look happy together. And that love is the most important ingredient in any recipe. Harrison and Imani exchanged glances over Destiny's head. Miss Rosa is very wise, Harrison said. That afternoon, Margaret called again. The PI found something. Jerome's been living with a woman named Bethany Richards for the past 6 months. She has 2 kids from a previous relationship, and she filed a restraining order against him 3 weeks ago. He hit her, Imani said, feeling sick. The report says he shoved her during an argument and threatened her children. She's willing to testify. Does Jerome know about this? Not yet. We'll present it in court. But there's something else. Margaret paused. The PI also dug into Jerome's financial situation. He's deeply in debt. Over $100,000 to various creditors, including some questionable loans from people the PI suspects are involved in illegal lending. Harrison's expression darkened. He's not trying to get Destiny back because he's reformed. He's trying to extort money from us. That's my assessment as well. He probably heard about your marriage and your wealth and saw an opportunity. After hanging up, Harrison paced the living room. I want to confront him. Tell him to stay away from our family. That's exactly what he wants. A reaction from you, evidence that you're controlling or aggressive. Imani went to him, putting her hands on his chest to stop his pacing. We let Margaret handle this legally. We don't give Jerome anything to use against us. I hate this. Harrison's hands came up to cover hers. I hate that he's putting you through this stress. I hate it too. But we're not alone this time. Last time I faced Jerome, I had nothing. No support, no resources, no backup. Now I have you. Now we have each other. Harrison pulled her close. Always. You'll always have me. That evening, while Destiny was at her new friend's house for a playdate, another surprise came. The doorbell rang. Harrison answered it to find a woman in her early 60s standing there, well-dressed and nervous. "Can I help you?" Harrison asked. "I'm looking for Imani Brooks. I was told she might be here." The woman's voice shook. "I'm her mother. I'm Gloria." Imani, who'd been in the kitchen, froze at the name. She hadn't spoken to her mother in 3 years, not since a terrible fight right before Imani left Jerome. "Mama?" she said, coming to the door. Gloria's eyes filled with tears. "Imani. Oh, honey, I've been looking for you for so long." Harrison stepped back, giving them space. Imani stood in the doorway, emotions warring across her face. "How did you find me?" she asked. "Your cousin Tasha. She saw the marriage announcement in the paper and called me. Imani, I'm so sorry. For everything. For not believing you about Jerome, for taking his side, for all of it." Imani's hands trembled. "You told me I was being dramatic. You said I should try harder to make my marriage work. I know. I was wrong. So incredibly wrong." Gloria took a shaky breath. "I didn't understand. But 3 months after you left, Jerome came to my house looking for you. When I said I didn't know where you were, he got angry. He grabbed me, Imani. Just for a second, but it was enough for me to see what you'd been living with. He hurt you. Not badly. But it opened my eyes. I filed a police report, got a restraining order, and I've been trying to find you ever since to apologize. To help. To make things right." Imani didn't move for a long moment. Then, slowly, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around her mother. Both women cried, 3 years of hurt and regret pouring out. Harrison watched from the doorway, his own eyes damp. Later, he would tell Imani that watching her reunite with her mother was one of the most beautiful things he'd ever seen. They invited Gloria inside. Over coffee, she explained that she'd remarried to a kind man named Frank, that she'd moved back to the city 6 months ago hoping to find Imani, that she'd never stopped thinking about her daughter and granddaughter. "Where is Destiny?" Gloria asked, looking around eagerly. "At a friend's house. She'll be back in an hour." Imani wiped her eyes. "Mama, she's grown so much. You'll hardly recognize her. I want to know everything. 3 years is a long time." As Imani caught her mother up, Harrison made himself scarce, giving them privacy. When Destiny came home, bouncing through the door full of stories about her playdate, she stopped short at the sight of the unfamiliar woman. "Destiny, baby, this is your grandma." "My mama," Imani said gently. "My grandma?" Destiny's eyes went wide. "Hi, sweetheart." Gloria knelt down. "I've missed you so much." "Where were you?" "Far away. But I'm here now, and I'd like to spend time with you if that's okay." Destiny looked at Imani, who nodded. Then the little girl walked over to Gloria and hugged her. Gloria started crying all over again. That night, after Gloria had left with promises to visit again soon, Imani found Harrison in his office. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For giving my mother and me space today. For welcoming her into your home without question. For understanding how much that meant to me." Harrison pulled her into his lap. "Your family is my family now. That includes Gloria." Imani rested her head on his shoulder. "My mother wants to testify in court. About Jerome grabbing her, about the restraining order. She says she'll do whatever it takes to make sure he never gets near Destiny. That will help our case tremendously." "I know. Everything is coming together. We have Bethany's testimony, my mother's testimony, all the evidence of Jerome's debts and violence." Imani lifted her head to look at Harrison. "Why do I still feel scared? Because you're human. Because Jerome hurt you for years. Because trusting that things might actually work out is hard when you've been let down before." Harrison cupped her face. "But Imani, I promise you we are going to win. And even if, by some impossible chance, the judge orders supervised visitation, I will make sure you and Destiny are never alone with him. I will hire security, I will be there for every single visit, I will move heaven and earth to keep you both safe. I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do. You deserve everything good in this world." Harrison kissed her forehead. "And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you get it." That night, lying in bed, Imani thought about everything that had happened. Jerome's petition. The evidence against him. Her mother's return. The love she'd found with Harrison. Life was strange and complicated and scary. But for the first time in forever, Imani believed it might also turn out okay. Because she wasn't facing it alone anymore. She had Harrison. She had Gloria. She had a future that looked bright instead of dark. And in 3 weeks, she'd walk into that courtroom and fight for her daughter with an army behind her instead of standing alone. Jerome Carter had no idea what was coming for him. And Imani could hardly wait to show him. The weeks leading up to the court date were intense. Margaret prepared them thoroughly, conducting practice sessions where she grilled Imani about her relationship with Jerome, about her marriage to Harrison, about Destiny's well-being. The opposing counsel will try to paint you as an opportunist, Margaret warned. They'll say you married Harrison for money and that the adoption is you trying to replace Destiny's real father with a wealthy one. That's not true, Imani protested. I know it's not. But you need to be ready to defend your choices calmly and clearly. Don't let them provoke you into anger. Harrison held her hand through all of it. In the evenings, he'd rub her shoulders and tell her she was doing great. Gloria visited 3 times a week, building a relationship with Destiny. The little girl was thrilled to have a grandmother, someone who taught her to bake cookies and told her stories about when Imani was young. Your mama was so stubborn, Gloria told Destiny one afternoon while they decorated cupcakes. Once she decided she wanted to learn to ride a bike, she practiced every day for a month straight, even after falling dozens of times. Like when I learned to swim, Destiny said proudly. Daddy H said I was very determined. Gloria glanced at Harrison, who was working on his laptop nearby. Daddy H seems like a very good man. He is. He reads me stories and helps me with my numbers and he never yells. Later, after Destiny went to play, Gloria spoke to Harrison directly. Thank you for taking care of my girls. I know this arrangement started unconventionally, but watching you with them, I can see you genuinely care. I love them, Harrison said simply. Both of them. More than I thought possible. I believe you. And I'll make sure the judge knows that too. The night before the court date, none of them could sleep. Imani found Harrison sitting on the back patio at 2 a.m. Can't sleep either? She asked, sitting next to him. Too anxious. Tomorrow changes everything. Or it confirms what we already know. That Destiny belongs with us. Imani leaned her head on his shoulder. Harrison, no matter what happens tomorrow, I want you to know something. This past 2 months has been the happiest time of my life. You gave me back my hope. You made me believe in good people again. You did the same for me. Before you, I was just existing. Working myself to death, accumulating money and success but not having anyone to share it with. You and Destiny gave me purpose. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. I should probably tell you something, Imani said. In case things go badly tomorrow. They won't. But if they do, I want you to know that I don't regret any of this. Even if we lose, even if Jerome somehow wins visitation, I'll never regret marrying you or building this family. Harrison turned to look at her. Imani Mitchell, we are not losing. But I appreciate you saying that. And I want you to know that no matter what that judge says tomorrow, you're my wife. Destiny is my daughter. Nothing changes that. He kissed her then, deep and thorough, and for a moment Imani forgot about court and Jerome and everything except the man she loved. When they finally pulled apart, Harrison smiled. How about we actually try sleeping in the same bed tonight? Just for comfort. No pressure. I'd like that. They went upstairs together. Imani climbed into Harrison's large bed, and he wrapped his arms around her from behind. She fit perfectly against him. This is nice, she whispered. It really is. We should have done this sooner. Maybe we needed to wait until we were really sure. Are you sure now? Absolutely. Imani turned in his arms to face him. I love you, Harrison. Completely and totally. I love you too. So much it scares me sometimes. They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other's arms, finding peace before the storm. Morning came too quickly. Imani dressed in a professional green dress Harrison had bought specifically for court. He wore his best suit. They left Destiny with Gloria and Rosa, who promised to keep her distracted with baking and games. Good luck, Mama. Good luck, Daddy H, Destiny called as they left. Daddy H. She'd started calling him that regularly now. Imani hoped the judge would see how much that meant. The courthouse was intimidating, all marble and authority. Margaret met them outside the courtroom, looking professional and confident. Remember, let me do most of the talking. Answer questions directly and honestly. Don't volunteer information, but don't lie or evade either. The judge will appreciate straightforwardness. Jerome was already there when they entered the courtroom. Imani's stomach dropped at the sight of him. He'd cleaned up, wearing a decent suit, his hair neatly trimmed. But his eyes when they landed on her were the same cold, calculating eyes she remembered. His attorney, a slick man named Richard Powell, gave them a smug smile. The judge, a stern woman named Judge Anderson, entered. Everyone stood. Please be seated. We're here to determine the petition of Jerome Carter for visitation with his minor daughter, Destiny Brooks, and the counterpetition of Harrison and Imani Mitchell for adoption. Let's begin. Powell went first, painting Jerome as a reformed man who'd made mistakes but wanted to be part of his daughter's life. He talked about Jerome's rights as a biological father, about how he'd been denied access to his child. "Mr. Carter has gotten sober," Powell said. "He's holding down a steady job. He's attended parenting classes. He simply wants the opportunity to know his daughter." Then it was Margaret's turn. She methodically destroyed Powell's narrative. "Your Honor, the facts paint a very different picture. Mr. Carter abandoned Destiny when she was 3 months old. He has paid zero child support. He has made no attempt to contact Ms. Brooks or Destiny in 2 years, until he learned of her marriage to Mr. Mitchell, a wealthy man." Margaret presented evidence. Bank records showing Jerome's debts. Police reports documenting his violence. Bethany Richards' restraining order. Gloria's testimony about being grabbed. "This is not a man who wants to be a father," Margaret concluded. "This is a man who sees an opportunity for extortion." Powell objected. The judge overruled him. Then came witness testimony. Bethany took the stand, nervous but clear. She described Jerome's temper, his violence, his threats. "He told me he was going to get money from his ex, that she'd married some rich guy and he deserved his cut," Bethany said. "He said his kid was his ticket to easy money." Powell tried to discredit her. Margaret redirected, reinforcing every point. Gloria testified next, describing what she'd witnessed, how Jerome had grabbed her, how she'd been wrong to doubt Imani. "My daughter is a good mother," Gloria said firmly. "She left Jerome to protect Destiny. And Mr. Mitchell has been nothing but wonderful to both of them. That child is thriving with them. She's happy and healthy and loved." Finally, it was Imani's turn. She walked to the stand on shaking legs. Powell went first, trying to make her marriage sound opportunistic. "Isn't it convenient, Ms. Brooks, that you married a wealthy man just weeks after meeting him?" "My name is Mrs. Mitchell now," Imani said calmly. "And I married Harrison because he offered my daughter stability and safety. Yes, his wealth helps. But more importantly, he's kind, patient, and loves Destiny like she's his own." "Did you ever try to contact Mr. Carter about visiting his daughter?" "Why would I? He'd been gone for 2 years with no contact. He made it clear he wanted nothing to do with us. People change. Not men like Jerome." Imani looked directly at the judge. "I lived with him for 3 years. I know who he really is. He's not here because he's changed or because he misses Destiny. He's here because he thinks he can get money from us." Powell pressed harder. "You're saying a father has no right to see his child?" "I'm saying an abuser who abandoned his child has no right to disrupt her life when she's finally safe and happy." Margaret's redirect was brilliant, walking Imani through her history with Jerome, her escape, the struggle to provide for Destiny, and how Harrison had changed everything. "Do you love your husband, Mrs. Mitchell?" "Yes. I didn't marry him for money. I married him for my daughter's future. But I fell in love with him because of who he is as a person. He's the best man I've ever known." Harrison, sitting in the gallery, blinked back tears. Finally, Harrison took the stand. Powell tried to paint him as buying a family, but Harrison was calm and articulate. "I fell in love with Imani and Destiny not because I needed something from them, but because they needed someone to believe in them. And somewhere along the way I realized they were exactly what I needed too. A family. Purpose. Love. You're quite wealthy, Mr. Mitchell. Isn't it true you could have any woman you wanted?" "I don't want any woman. I want Imani. And I want to be Destiny's father, to give her every opportunity, to watch her grow up and know she's loved." Margaret had one final witness. The private investigator testified about Jerome's debts, his shady loan arrangements, his history of violence with multiple partners. By the time all testimony concluded, it was clear which way the case was leaning. Judge Anderson took only 15 minutes to deliberate. When she returned, her expression was stern. "I've heard enough," she said. "Mr. Carter, your claim that you're a reformed man seeking a relationship with your daughter is contradicted by overwhelming evidence. Your pattern of violence, your financial desperation, and your complete lack of effort to contact your daughter until learning of her mother's marriage to a wealthy man tells me everything I need to know about your true motivations." Jerome's face darkened. "Furthermore, I find that Destiny Brooks is thriving in the care of Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell. The evidence shows a loving, stable home environment with parents who are devoted to her well-being." The judge looked directly at Jerome. "Your petition for visitation is denied. Furthermore, I'm ordering that you have no contact with Destiny or the Mitchell family. Any attempt to contact them will result in criminal charges." Then she turned to Harrison and Imani. "As for the adoption petition, I'm granting it. Mr. Mitchell, you are now legally Destiny's father. Congratulations to all of you. The gavel came down. It was over. They'd won. Imani burst into tears. Harrison pulled her into his arms, both of them crying and laughing at once. Jerome stood up furious. This is bullshit. She's my daughter. No, she's not, the judge said coldly. Not anymore. Bailiff, please escort Mr. Carter out. As Jerome was led away, still cursing, Imani felt years of fear lift off her shoulders. It's over, she whispered to Harrison. It's really over. We won. We're a family now. Legally and completely. Margaret congratulated them. Gloria, who'd been in the gallery, rushed over to hug them both. They drove home together, calling ahead to let Rosa know. When they walked through the door, Destiny came running. Did you win? Is Daddy H really my daddy now? Yes, sweetheart, Harrison said, scooping her up. I'm your daddy for real. Forever. Destiny hugged him tight. Good. I like you being my daddy. That night, they had a celebration dinner. Rosa made all of Destiny's favorites. Gloria joined them, along with Thomas and Margaret. Toasts were made. Happy tears were shed. And when Destiny was finally asleep, her new adoption papers tucked safely away, Harrison and Imani stood in their bedroom, finally able to breathe. We did it, Imani said. We actually did it. No more separate beds? Harrison asked hopefully. Imani smiled. No more separate beds. They climbed into bed together properly this time, and Imani rested her head on Harrison's chest, listening to his heartbeat. I love you, she said. Thank you for fighting for us. Always, Harrison promised, kissing the top of her head. I'll always fight for my family. Outside, the moon shone bright over their home. Inside, a newly formed family slept peacefully, finally safe, finally whole, finally home. 6 months after the adoption was finalized, life had settled into a beautiful routine. Destiny was thriving in her preschool program, making friends and learning new things every day. Imani had completed her first semester of college courses with straight A's. Harrison's company was doing better than ever, and he'd started working from home 2 days a week to spend more time with his family. But there was one final piece of the puzzle that needed to fall into place. We need to tell the court about our living arrangement, Margaret said during a routine follow-up call. Specifically, that you're now sharing a bedroom and that this marriage has become a genuine romantic relationship. Why does that matter? Harrison asked. The adoption is already finalized. Standard post-adoption check-ins. The court wants to ensure the family unit is stable. Right now, your file still shows you started as a marriage of convenience. Updating it to reflect your actual relationship status will strengthen your legal standing and close any potential loopholes. So 2 weeks later, they found themselves back in family court, this time for a routine follow-up hearing. Judge Anderson smiled when they entered. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, good to see you. And this must be Destiny. They'd brought Destiny this time as requested. She wore a bright red dress and held Harrison's hand confidently. Hi, Judge, Destiny said, having been coached about courtroom manners. Daddy H said you're the one who made him my real dad. Judge Anderson's expression softened. I am. How are you liking your new family? I love it. Daddy H reads me stories every night, and Mama is learning to be a teacher, and we have a pool, and I have my own room, and Grandma Gloria visits and makes cookies. That sounds wonderful. Judge Anderson gestured for them all to sit. This is just a standard check-in to see how the adoption is progressing. I see from the social worker's report that everything is going well. The social worker, a kind woman named Patricia Johnson, had visited their home 3 times over the past 6 months, always unannounced, always thorough. Each time she'd found a loving, stable environment. Yes, Your Honor, Harrison said. Destiny is doing great. Her health has improved significantly with proper medical care. She's excelling in preschool. And we're all very happy. Mrs. Mitchell, how has the adjustment been for you? Imani took a breath. Honestly, Your Honor, it's been incredible. When I married Harrison, I'll admit it was primarily for Destiny's benefit. But over these past 6 months, it's become so much more. Harrison is my best friend, my partner in every sense, and the love of my life. Harrison squeezed her hand. Judge Anderson made some notes. And your living arrangement? The initial filing indicated separate bedrooms. We share a bedroom now, Harrison said clearly. Our relationship evolved naturally into a genuine marriage in every way. I'm glad to hear that. Judge Anderson looked at Destiny. Sweetheart, can you tell me what it's like living with your mama and daddy? It's fun. Daddy H helps me with my numbers and Mama reads me books. We have dinner together every night and sometimes we go swimming and I have friends at school and I'm not scared anymore. What were you scared of before? Destiny thought about it. I don't remember exactly. But Mama used to be sad a lot and we didn't have much food sometimes and I couldn't breathe good. But now Mama smiles all the time and we have lots of food and my medicine makes it so I can breathe easy. Judge Anderson's eyes were gentle. That's very good. Do you like having Daddy H as your father? He's the best daddy ever. He makes Mama happy and he never yells and he says he loves me every single day. The judge smiled. Well, that's exactly what I like to hear. Based on this follow-up and the social worker's reports, I'm satisfied that this adoption is in Destiny's best interests and that you've formed a genuine family unit. She stamped some papers. Everything is in order. You won't need any more check-ins unless you request them. Congratulations again on your family. As they left the courthouse, Destiny skipped between them, holding both their hands. Can we get ice cream to celebrate? She asked. Absolutely, Harrison said. Any flavor you want. At the ice cream shop, while Destiny was absorbed in her triple scoop cone, Imani looked at Harrison. Can you believe where we are now compared to 6 months ago? Sometimes it still feels like a dream. Harrison reached across the table to take her hand. A really, really good dream. I keep waiting to wake up. Don't. This is real. We're real. That night, after Destiny was asleep, Harrison had a surprise for Imani. He led her out to the garden, where he'd set up a beautiful outdoor seating area with lights strung overhead. What's this? Imani asked. I wanted to do something special. To celebrate not just the court hearing but everything we've built together. Harrison pulled out a small box. When we got married, I gave you a simple ring because that's what the situation required. But now, I want to give you something that represents what we've become. He opened the box to reveal a stunning ring, a deep green emerald surrounded by small diamonds. Harrison, this is too much. No, it's exactly enough. Green like the dress you wore to our first dinner together. Like hope and new beginnings. He took her left hand and slid the ring on next to her simple wedding band. Imani Mitchell, I love you more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. You've given me a family, a purpose, a reason to come home every day with a smile on my face. Thank you for taking a chance on a lonely millionaire with a crazy proposal. Imani was crying now. Thank you for seeing past our circumstances to who we could be together. So we're really doing this? Forever? Forever, Imani confirmed, kissing him. You, me, Destiny, and whatever else life brings. Speaking of that, Harrison said carefully, how would you feel about expanding our family someday? I know I can't have biological children, but we could adopt again or foster Oregon. I'd love that. Not right away but someday. When Destiny's a bit older and we've had more time to just be us. But yes, I'd like to give her siblings. Harrison pulled her close. I love you so much. I love you too. More than I ever thought possible. They sat under the stars, wrapped in each other's arms, talking about their future. About the renovations they wanted to make to the house. About the vacation they should take as a family. About Imani's graduation in 3 years. About watching Destiny grow up. Inside, through the window, they could see their daughter's bedroom lights still on. Probably reading when she should be sleeping, a habit she'd gotten from both of them. Should we tell her to go to sleep? Imani asked. Nah. Let her read. She's happy and safe. That's all that matters. And it was all that mattered. After years of struggle and fear and uncertainty, they'd built something beautiful. A family founded on an unusual beginning but strengthened by genuine love and commitment. The next morning, Destiny came bouncing into their bedroom at 6 a.m., as was her weekend habit. Mama, Daddy, wake up. I want pancakes. Imani groaned. Harrison laughed, pulling Destiny into bed between them for morning cuddles. How about we make pancakes together? Harrison suggested. Can I crack the eggs? Of course. But carefully. I'm always careful, Daddy. As they headed downstairs together, a real family in every sense of the word, Imani caught Harrison's eye and smiled. This was everything she'd never dared to dream of. And it was real. Completely, beautifully, perfectly real. 3 months after the final court hearing, they decided to have a real wedding. Not the quick courthouse ceremony, but a celebration of what they'd become. We don't need to, Imani protested when Harrison first suggested it. We're already married. I know. But I want to stand in front of our family and friends and declare my love for you properly. Not as a legal arrangement but as a real marriage. Don't you? When he put it that way, Imani couldn't say no. The planning was joyful chaos. Gloria insisted on helping with every detail. Destiny wanted to be the flower girl, naturally. Harrison spared no expense, but Imani made sure it stayed personal rather than ostentatious. They chose the estate gardens as the venue, transformed into a wonderland of flowers and lights. Imani's dress was a stunning green gown that made Harrison's eyes tear up when he first saw it. Destiny wore a maroon dress and carried a basket of rose petals with utmost seriousness. The guest list was small but meaningful. Gloria and her husband Frank. Tasha and her family. Harrison's business partner and closest friend. Thomas, Rosa, and Patricia the social worker. About 50 people total, all of whom had played a role in their journey. As the ceremony began, Imani walked down the aisle on Gloria's arm, her mother openly crying. "You look so beautiful, baby girl," Gloria whispered. "Thank you, Mama. For being here. For supporting us. I wouldn't miss this for the world." Harrison stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored blue suit, his eyes locked on Imani. Beside him, Destiny stood holding the rings, beaming with pride. The officiant, the same Judge Morrison who'd married them the first time, smiled warmly. "We are gathered here today to celebrate the love between Harrison and Imani Mitchell. Some of you may know that this couple has already been legally married for several months. But today is about more than legality. Today is about love, commitment, and the family they've built together." Harrison and Imani had written their own vows this time. Harrison went first. "Imani, when I met you that night in the hospital, I thought I was helping someone in need. I had no idea you were about to save me. You took a chance on a stranger with an unusual proposal. You trusted me with your daughter and eventually with your heart. You've taught me what it means to be part of a family, to love unconditionally, to find joy in ordinary moments. You are the strongest, kindest, most beautiful person I've ever known, and I promise to spend the rest of my life being worthy of the gift you've given me." Imani was already crying. She took a shaky breath and began her vows. "Harrison, you walked into my life at my lowest point and offered me hope. Not just financial help, but genuine kindness. You saw past our circumstances to who we could be. You loved Destiny like she was yours from the very beginning, and you loved me even when I didn't think I deserved it. You taught me to dream again, to believe in good people, to trust in happiness. I promise to stand by your side through everything life brings, to love you fiercely, and to remind you every day how special you are." There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. Judge Morrison asked for the rings. Destiny stepped forward, carefully carrying the pillow. This time, the rings were matching bands custom designed with small emeralds. "Do you, Harrison Mitchell, take Imani to be your wife, to love and cherish from this day forward?" "I do. Again. Forever." "And do you, Imani Mitchell, take Harrison to be your husband, to love and cherish from this day forward?" "I do. Again. Forever." "Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife." Again. Judge Morrison grinned. "You may kiss your bride. Properly this time." Harrison pulled Imani close and kissed her deeply, dipping her slightly in a move that made the audience cheer and applaud. When they came up for air, Destiny tugged on Harrison's jacket. "Daddy, can I be in the kiss too?" Harrison laughed and picked her up, and the three of them shared a group hug while everyone cried happy tears. The reception was perfect. Simple but elegant, with amazing food and beautiful decorations. There was dancing, toasts, and laughter. Gloria gave a tearful speech about how proud she was of Imani, how grateful she was to Harrison for giving her daughter and granddaughter the life they deserved. Harrison's business partner, a man named Michael Chin, gave a speech about how Harrison had been a workaholic before meeting Imani, and how amazing it was to see him finally living instead of just existing. When it was Imani's turn to speak, she kept it brief. "A year ago, I was barely surviving, working multiple jobs, terrified about my daughter's future. Then this man offered me the most unusual proposal I'd ever heard. Marry him, let him adopt my daughter, build a family together." It sounded insane. But standing here now, surrounded by love and joy, I can say with absolute certainty that it was the best decision I ever made. Harrison, thank you for choosing us. Thank you for being patient while I learned to trust. Thank you for being the most incredible husband and father. I love you. Harrison stood up and kissed her, to more applause. The first dance was to a slow song that Destiny had helped pick out. As they swayed together, Harrison whispered in Imani's ear. "Happy. Deliriously. Good. Because this is just the beginning." Later, Destiny insisted on dancing with both of them, standing on Harrison's shoes while Imani held her hands. As the night wound down and guests began to leave, the three of them stood together in the garden, watching the last of the sunset. "This was the best day ever," Destiny declared. "Even better than my birthday." "I'm glad you enjoyed it, sweetheart," Harrison said. Daddy, can we do it again next year? Imani laughed. How about we just celebrate our anniversary instead? Okay. But can we still have cake? Always cake, Harrison promised. After Destiny finally fell asleep that night, exhausted from all the excitement, Harrison and Imani had a quiet moment alone. There's something I want to show you, Harrison said, leading her to his office. He pulled out a folder. Inside were papers for a trust fund he'd set up for Destiny, ensuring her financial security for life. There were also adoption papers for 3 children currently in foster care. I thought we could talk about this, Harrison said. I know we discussed expanding our family someday. These 3 kids have been in the system for years. Siblings, ages 7, 9, and 11. They need a home together, and I thought maybe we could be that home. When you're ready, of course. Imani looked at the photos of 3 children with hopeful eyes and felt her heart expand. Are you sure? That would be a lot to take on. I'm sure. If you are. We have the space, the resources, and more importantly, the love. We could give these kids what we gave Destiny. A real home. A real family. When you're ready, Harrison had said. Not if. When. Because he trusted her judgment, trusted their partnership. Let's meet them, Imani said. See if it's a good fit. If they want us as much as we want them. Harrison pulled her into his arms. Have I told you lately that you're amazing? Not in the last hour. Well, you are. Absolutely amazing. That night, lying in bed together, Imani reflected on the past year. From desperate mother in a hospital hallway to wife of a millionaire. From struggling to survive to planning to adopt more children. From broken and afraid to whole and hopeful. What are you thinking about? Harrison asked, his arms around her. Everything. How much has changed. How grateful I am. How much I love you. I love you too. More every day. Harrison. Yeah. When you made that first proposal, did you ever imagine we'd end up here? Really and truly in love? Harrison was quiet for a moment. Honestly? I hoped. I didn't know if it was possible to build real love on a foundation of practicality, but I hoped. And I'm so glad I took that chance. Me too. You saved us, Harrison. You and your unusual proposal saved our lives. No, Imani. We saved each other. And they had. 2 broken people, 1 desperate mother and 1 lonely millionaire, finding wholeness in each other. Building something beautiful from circumstances that should have been impossible. Outside, the moon shone over their home. Inside, a family slept peacefully. A family that had started with a shocking proposal in a hospital hallway and had grown into something real and lasting and true. Tomorrow they would meet 3 children who needed a home. Next month, Imani would start her 2nd year of college. Next year, Harrison's company would launch a new initiative. In 5 years, they'd watch Destiny start middle school. The future stretched ahead of them, full of possibilities and promise. But tonight, in this perfect moment, they were exactly where they needed to be. Together. A family. Forever.